Hey yo, you there. I'm Nick, and this is Thot Factory. I work in a factory, which gives me a lot of time to think of wild, interesting, and crazy things about the world around us. So I'll be discussing whatever's on my mind with no script while crushing Bloons Tower Defense 5 levels. So come for the balloons, stay for the commentary, hopefully anyway, until I learn to edit. So, that is my intro, new intro anyway, and I guess I'm calling this thing Thot Factory now, which actually, if you go to Urban Dictionary and look up thought, not THOUGHT, but THOT, which is said the same way, it actually probably was not a good idea to decide that. But I'm going to go with it because I came up with a list of about 25 or 30 different names because I thought Italian Ninja was just too sort of generic, and I didn't. I think that over time, channels need to develop and change things, and I think I'm in the moment where I need to change something. So I was trying to appeal to a little bit of a bigger demographic, and that bigger demographic is factory workers in general. In fact, generally, factory workers have a lot of time to think about stuff because a lot of the jobs that we do are fairly monotonous. At least for me, mine is. So I get a lot of time during the day to think about whatever kind of stuff that I decide I want to think about, but it's taken me a lot of time to get to the point where I can direct my focus onto topics and kind of explore them within my own mind. So I want to start with some. I guess I should say I'm doing Toyland. The Bloons Tower Defense content here today is Toyland. This is the background video that you guys are watching that I'm not really going to be paying much attention to or talking much about unless something happens to come up while I'm looking at the screen. But usually I just kind of stare off into space and talk about shit. Uh, I'm going to get to that at some point. At some point I'm going to do more strategy videos for this stuff, but I just don't feel like I'm that good yet. And I don't want to start giving you guys advice on things that I'm like not an expert on, you know? So as for right now, this is the background video until I figure out how to edit something a little bit different. Or who knows? Maybe this just works, captures the audience in a different way. I'm not sure. But this is what we're doing for now because that's what I want to do. So I'm going to give a couple shout outs here. I want to give a shout out to Angry Birds Blanket. He posted a video in the comments, which was just, honestly, dude, I didn't really know what the fuck was going on. It was kind of chaotic. So, yeah, but it looked very difficult because things were flying everywhere and it looked like you had a little character on a side scroller. So, uh, definitely some epilepsy material. If anybody is looking to give themselves a epileptic seizure. I think I just had an epileptic seizure. But anyway, the other shout out is to Anton Mercer. So that is my two shout outs for the day. And I'm gonna try. Oh, okay. We got some time here today, so I don't have to go so fast. I got a big list of topics that I can talk about, and I'm gonna start things off. I want to do about a quote a video because I have a million of them, and I like these quotes. So I'm gonna give you guys a quote here today, and this quote is, "From here to," already messed it up. Start over. "From there to here, from here to there, funny things are everywhere." It's from Oh the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. I like kids' books. Generally, they're pretty good material and have good lessons. Especially Dr. Seuss. That guy knew what the fuck was going on. He really understood human nature, I think. So, I find that to be pretty captivating. Other children's books, too, like growing up, I think I watched a lot of Clifford the Big Red Dog. I think we actually read them first. I had the entire Cat in the Hat book. No, it wasn't Cat in the Hat. Which one was it? It was the orange one. Cat in the Hat? No, it wasn't Cat in the Hat. Dr. Seuss books. I'm just looking on my computer here quick. It was Green Eggs and Ham. Green Eggs and Ham. I had the whole goddamn book memorized. I think I picked it up at the dentist office and I was using it to distract myself from having to go in and get my teeth cleaned by the dentist because, every kid kind of finds that to be a little bit uncomfortable. Especially my brother. Not so much me. But I think the part that I didn't like is that they had stuff in my mouth, and I like to talk. So when when they start throwing, they put their hands and their tools and stuff in your mouth, you made me uncomfortable. So that's that. But I ended up memorizing that entire green eggs and ham book, and it hasn't really gotten me anywhere. But now I have probably half a dozen Dr. Seuss books sitting on my shelf that I've flipped through them and read them with my girlfriend a little while ago, and I really like the lessons that these books have, because especially when you're hearing some of the stuff that's going on today and some of the stuff that they're putting in books, seems very somewhat disturbing in what they're trying to teach kids. So I'm not going to get too much into that though. We're going to keep moving with different topics. I got 1,000 different things. I came up yesterday, so I've been working on trying to get these videos down and made. So I do this in 2 steps. First, I make the video by playing the game, and then I do the commentary over top of the same video. That's why I can click like this and could scroll through it if I wanted to. But I'm not going to scroll through it. For anybody that wants to follow along to the actual content, I'm going to make the, Bloons Tower Defense is going to kind of be the outline of this, but mainly it's going to be kind of around commentary, I'm more of a talker than not, but I don't know what else to put as the background stuff, and I like playing this game. This is the only game that I play. So this is what we're doing. I'm a weird. I'm a weird, but I don't care. I'm a weird. That's a funny way to say that. So yeah. Guess where I'm going with this. This is Toyland on hard. So that's that. I'm going to be giving 1,000 at 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to be giving a giveaway. So subscribe. That way you can be a part of the giveaway. Yeah. That's that. What do I want to talk about now? So factory stuff, because now I'm the Thot Factory. Trying to think of factory stuff here. Okay, I got my list. Factory stuff. Supervise. This is something for anybody out there that's ever worked in a factory or any kind of work environment. Necessarily, like, doesn't necessarily have to be a factory. It can be pretty much any work environment. Because I experienced this with. I used to work at McDonald's. I've worked in warehouses, factories, distribution centers. I've worked in engineering departments and stuff too, but it's not as present there in those types of environments as it is in a factory or supervisor employee environment. But there seems to be a real lack of trust in those types of scenarios where you have, especially in physical labor things, like I'm gonna just outright say it. If you have somebody who gets like hurt, there's a lot of questions and a lot of judging around somebody getting hurt. I'll just say it. We had this guy. Not gonna say the nice. I'm just gonna say it what I called him. I called him retarded Ryan. That's not the nicest way to say it. I don't really think that there's anything necessarily wrong with that word. But this guy, he wasn't like, couldn't work, couldn't do anything like kind of special, but he definitely had some special attributes to him, and I probably shouldn't have been calling him retarded, but there's a point that you get to with certain people when you have to work around them and they're annoying as shit that you just want them to go away, and you just, like, I didn't call him retarded Ryan to his face, but everybody knows when I said retarded Ryan, which guy it was, because he was, well, a little bit retarded, and it was just, this guy, so we use circular saws at the company that I work for, and the circular saw, it was if you guys have ever used them, it was like a 3.5-inch DeWalt circular saw. They're supposed to be meant for like quick cuts, and they're kind of long. They're about 1 foot long, maybe a little bit longer than that, but maybe 18 inches or so. And they're a long saw, so you get a little bit of reach with it, But the downside, and it has high torque. It has high torque, so you get actually quite clean cuts. The thing is though, is because of the way that the saw is built, it's like long and heavy. So there's more weight on the end. In a normal circular saw, it's like the weight's really concentrated towards where your hand is, right? But in this saw, it wasn't. It was extended off probably about like a foot, right, from where your hand was, and it did have a handle for two hands, but because of what we were cutting, you had to hold. We're cutting plastic, by the way, so it's like plastic skeleton. That was our term for it. It was big plastic sheets that would go onto a CNC, and they would cut parts out, and after you pick up the parts, you have this like scrap left over, and the scrap we would call a skeleton. And in order to get rid of the skeleton, you would cut it up into small pieces and put it inside of a big box, aka a Gaylord, which is a funny name that we'll get into at another point. But you throw those plastic parts that you cut up into the Gaylord, and then somebody, a forklift driver, when the bin would fill up, would come and take it away. So that was generally the process. But in order to do that, to cut it up, you used a circular saw or one of these quick saws or whatever this DeWalt saw was. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But if anybody has used one before, my description of it was pretty good. It was about 18 inches long. It's supposed to be for two hands, but if you're holding something down, you only have one hand, right? So you're holding the skeleton with one hand, cutting with the other, and you're cutting it into small pieces. Well, this guy, and like I will say that it was hard on the body, like, because you're doing it all day for, well, at that point we were working 9-hour shifts. So 9-hour shift, you're cutting up skeleton all day. It's hard on the body. And this guy, I mean, nobody ever really complained, right? Because that's just the nature of the job. That's what you're getting paid to do, and we got paid pretty well. So, like, this is part of the job, right? Well, this guy was being a little fucking pansy, and he dropped the saw on his foot, and then comes over to me, and he says, "I dropped the saw on my foot." And, like, I looked down at his foot, like, well, it's still there. Like, I said, was the guard on? And he's like, well, yeah, when I dropped it, yeah. Like, because a guard, when you're sliding it across the plastic, the guard lifts up so that it cuts, right? And when you pull it off, the guard goes back into place over top of the blade so that it doesn't cut you. This guy, he's like, yeah, the guard was on it. I said, what was it running? And he's like, no, because when you drop it, you take your hand off of the buttons that make it go vroom vroom, and it stops the blade. So there's no way this thing was running, and the guard was on top of it. And then I look down at his foot again, and I go, you got steel-toed boots on? And I stepped on his foot. That's like a good way to test if somebody has steel-toed boots on. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like looking at him like, so what's the fucking problem? Like, you dropped the saw on your foot. Who cares? Like, you pick it up and keep going. So that's why I'm gonna say, that's why I call this guy partially retarded, right? I called him retarded Ryan. It's because of shit like that. It's like, dude, what the hell is the problem here? What are you trying to do? You trying to get out of work? You trying to get paid to go home? Because that's not what I'm all about. That's not my style. I want to work hard. I want to go into my job. I want to clock in approximately 1 minute before I start. I want to get in there, work as hard as I possibly can to make the time go as quick as possible. And then I want to get out of there exactly at the time that I'm supposed to leave, clocking out and in my car and out of the parking lot within the first minute. That's how I want to work, It's work hard the whole time. It's just so that time goes by fast. Well, clearly this guy was trying to get off work or something like that. So the supervisor he ended up coming over, not while Ryan was with me, but he was, down the way a little bit. And I just said to him, hey, I'm not going to say his name, but hey, supervisor. I was like, I'm like, hey, buddy over there is complaining about his foot. He dropped his saw on his foot. And he looks at me and he's like, well, does he have steel toes on? I go, yeah. And he's like, kind of shrugged his shoulders, like, well, so what's the problem? And I was like, I don't know, man. But he's telling me that he's looking for you, and that if I seen you to send you over. And he goes, well, I got some stuff to do, so I'll be back over in a little bit. And he let about half an hour, 45 minutes go by, and then he ends up coming over and checking out this guy's foot that was obviously obliterated, right? That he was still walking on and not limping and not having any issues with. Like, imagine somebody coming up to you, not limping, not any signs of any issues, and then going, I dropped something on my foot. And you're like, yeah? Yeah, like, don't do that? Like, what do you want me to say? Like, you know? Like, I don't know where you want me to go with this, man. Like, uh, sorry? Like, you want me to apologize to you? Like, where do you want me to go with this, you know? So anyway, this supervisor ends up going over to check out this guy's obliterated foot, and he you know, Ryan told him the story, and the supervisor was like, well, you know, like, do you want me to check it out? And he's like, well, sure. So he took off his foot. He took off his foot. He took off his shoe and took off his sock, and him and the supervisor are investigating his now bare foot in a factory, which probably illegal, but in a circumstance like that, it's like, dude, like, what's going on here? Like, why are you making such a big fuss about your foot? So anyway, the supervisor had come to the conclusion that it was bruised, and comes over afterwards and comes to me and goes, it was a bruise. And I go, cool, and walk away, because I didn't really care at all. I couldn't even believe that this was like a conversation that I was having, you know? I'll say that I've been lead hands at the company that I work at now. I was previously a lead hand. I have a story behind that. Wow, I'm not a lead hand anymore, but we'll get into that another day. But I just wanted to go back to the whole point of the supervisor or the management employee philosophy. And there's a real what do I want to say about, there's a real difference in the way that management wants employees to act and how employees want to act. And I think that management typically wants employees to be, well, reliable in terms of coming in when they're scheduled shifts. And then when they do show up, they want them to be diligent workers, right? And not complain and not cause problems. And for the most part, just about everybody I know, especially the ones that I work with now, because they laid off all the bad workers, they do that. They show up every day and they put in a good effort. But there is a difference sometimes where if you put in a lot of effort and you put in your best, you put your best foot forward, and people tend to take advantage of that. And I'm sure that there's people that are listening to this that have dealt with that situation where you work so hard that the bosses, they keep giving you more and more and more. And at some point there's this like, yeah, but are you gonna compensate me for more? And the reality of it, at least from my perspective, is if you continue to do the work without having those conversations, then they will just keep giving you more work. And you can learn the hard way, or you can try to learn from a video like this and just, try to have the difficult conversations. Because having those difficult conversations of like going to your supervisor and saying, hey, over the past couple of months, I've accumulated these responsibilities, and I am like you could just say honestly whether you're okay with it or not. But if you are okay with accumulating those responsibilities, make it clear that you want to be compensated for them, and you want to know like a plan and a date and dates for when you'll be compensated and what the compensation will be. Because a lot of the times I find that these companies and management play on the fact that they got you by the balls. Like, they kind of got you, meaning that if they stop, if if you cause problems and stop, I'm gonna have to pause this here. I'm gonna beat the level. just going to finish this story quick and then I'll let you guys go. But if you let them take advantage of you, like the reason that they feel like they can take advantage of you is because they're paying your paycheck, and your paycheck goes towards paying your bills. So you can't just walk away from the job. And if you do, then you might have issues in your personal life. So companies play on that fact. And I don't even think sometimes they do it on purpose, but they definitely do it. So for anybody out there dealing with that situation, try to take some of the advice that I just recommended. And if you have any stories like that, please put them in the comments. I'm curious. I'm fascinated by stories like this because that's been my experience in a lot of these places. Unless you have a real good supervisor or manager that really understands people and understands incentive structures. But for now, I'm going to leave you guys there. I'm just going to say that if you guys like this video, please subscribe. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, everybody. Bye.